Hopefully you're doing well. If you guys are new to the channel, my name is Brian, and today we're going to be diving into the latest dev update announcing the next season and who knows what else. I haven't seen this yet. I like to sit down and live react with you guys to these kind of news announcements. They tend to materialize out of the blue, and that ends up being kind of a big part of the fun. But we did know that something was happening in November, and what they mean by that is early November, which does check out because the next season, season 4, which is going to introduce some features that I think is truly going to change the game, and that's already on the roadmap. We do know that there's going to be a new roadmap. Don't know if they're going to share that with us today. And yeah, I just want to welcome you guys in. If you're joining me live on YouTube, on Twitch, on Kick, wherever, all the links are in the description. Thanks so much for being here. If you enjoyed this, especially if you're watching this as a VOD, be sure to hit that like button, sound off in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts about what they're going to talk about. But let's not waste anybody's time. It's already been a minute since I've been live. Let's go ahead and let Scott take over, and let's see what they've got to share with us today.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Season 4 dev update. We're still in Irvine. Got a big group of people with me today. Got Gwen, who you met a couple dev updates ago, who's a producer
Gwen.
on New World. Dave V, who everyone knows, the Associate Game Director. Got Rosie, the Wax Art Lead, World Art Lead.
Wax Art Lead.
Chad, who's the AI Lead. Patrick, who leads the Seasons and Progression teams. Vince, who's the UX lead, and Dan down there, who is the social and mounts lead. Lots of leads here today. So before we get too deep into the Season 4 update, I want to talk a little about the roadmap. So at the beginning of the year, you know, we released a roadmap that talked about everything we were going to do this year, and we've been pretty diligent about it. But in the effort of full transparency,
something's slipping.
We've ended up moving some things out of Season 4, and I want to talk through those and just own some of the things we missed on and talk about why.
What's up, Mike? Thanks for the like, buddy.
So the first one is the season trial with mutators. We decided to move this to Season 5 so we could do a little more focus on the expedition coming out this season. So we are still shipping a 10-person mutator, but it's going to be next release, and it probably won't have mutators. We're leaning heavily against that.
Server stuff.
Another one that's not happening is the seasonal trinket.
Ooh, okay.
So with this one,
sweet.
when we, artifacts weren't on the original roadmap and plan, and once we released artifacts, it seemed to fill the void of the trinket.
Okay.
And we thought before we start putting more things in the mix, let's watch what happens with this, get player feedback, and figure out if trinkets is still the right thing to do, or we want to go a different
Trinkets
direction.
is going to be something like that's a big mystery for me this entire time.
Next one is the MSQ update.
Whoa.
So we were planning to finish the MSQ this release in December. However, we're not really happy with the way that the MSQ update went in the last release, and we wanted to put a little extra time.
That's fair.
Just to make sure we give you a quality experience. So that's going to move into the next one. We had already talked about really not being into heart runes. I think we did enough of those, and I think that any more would get a little bit convoluted. Next one, we're going to go into this really deep later, but at a top level, cross-world expeditions and arenas is moving. Now, the reason it's moving is we wanted to surprise everyone with an improved group finder.
Okay.
And we did, it's underway, but it's going to take a little longer than we wanted, so it's not going to make Season 4. However, we will deep dive on that in a little bit. And then finally, the seasonal territory control. Again, we talked about doing this, but the influence races have done such a good job of engaging the players. We want to get more feedback, and we'd rather respond to feedback and improve that than try to throw another system into the mix. So there's good reasons for it, and this is just, when you release a roadmap, 12 months out, you don't always know how things are going to evolve over time and what's going to happen in the live environment. So things change, and we just wanted to, be open and honest and get in front of the changes.
Yeah.
So with that,
don't surprise me with those changes on day one.
I'd like to shift the focus to Season 4 and talk about Eternal Frost, because there's some pretty cool stuff coming this month. And
So obviously the name's really cool, but Lord Gang says the whole season is delayed, lol. It felt like some of the big items, obviously, with cross-server stuff. Holy smokes, yeah. I'm actually, so I see Mike talking about how controller support's overrated because he's clearly insane. But I don't see any controllers, which we saw in their last update that I think it was missed, but then Eagle Eye viewers caught it after the fact, which is really exciting. And I think that we're going to see that come sooner rather than later. But we'll see if they talk about that here in this update.
First thing is it comes with a new storyline. And someone's going to tell you about that who's sitting behind me.
Yeah, so Season 4 storyline. The Silver Crows are back, so very excited to have Grace O'Malley, Xander, and the crew back to take you on a new adventure. With this storyline, we have a old client, Sky the Spear Daughter. She returns and warns that the Varangians are back up to no good. They never seem to be up to any good, so we're fighting them again. With her coming and bringing that news, you need to seek out new allies. So that brings in Daichi Saito, the new member of the Silver Crows, who you will have to fight him to gain his respect in order for him to join the Crows. So it's one of several soul trials that come with this season narrative, which is super exciting. We're really expanding our quantity of soul trials we're doing with the season narrative. So, Chad, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you were saying, I think we've got a total of, 4 solo trial boss fights. So we've got the Daichi encounter, another fight with the Ice Dragon, as well as kind of an ultimate Ice Guardian. That one in particular I really like. Has some great mechanics that we haven't really seen yet. Interacting with some throwable objects to kind of break this interaction that the boss is doing with some rooms in the environment. I think that one's really fun. And then an ultimate fight with Mordred, which is really cool. He's got some really interesting, not seen before, new abilities.
And I think the quest experience is once again up-leveled. Like, it's just, there's so many fun quests. There's one where you actually play on a chessboard. Like, there's a mission in that. Like, we've just found new interactions in the quest that keeps it sort of interesting and really keeps the narrative alive.
Yeah, personally, I like that, we've done a lot for the group, the PvE group players. We've done a lot for the PvP players recently. And now we're doing more for the solo players. And I want to make sure the message is we care about all of the groups.
Oh, that's, yeah, you definitely want to try to
high level. I love the solo
feed everybody, right?
Solo trials. They're pretty cool. We also have a new expedition coming out, the Glacial Tarn for level 65 players. What makes that cool?
Well, the Glacial Tarn, in contrast to the Empyrean Forge, is going to be all icy and cold. So we have some real extremes in temperature. And it's really interesting second half to the Empyrean Forge. So we see those two, sort of the two sides of the hot and the cold.
Interesting.
Yeah, and just to talk a little bit about what players are going to be encountering in there. We've got some really neat environmental interactions. There's icy stalactites or icicles dropping from the ceiling on the player. Some really interesting kind of empowering mechanics where players have to defeat it, gathering flame. Some new enemies with icy ancient guardians, ice Varangians, and some new bosses. Gwen, you want to tell us about those?
Yeah, the new ice torso boss. Does he have a player-facing name?
Sir Loth.
Sir Loth, that's right. Yeah, so we've got the Ice Commander, Sir Loth, in Glacial Tarn, and I think the most exciting thing about that fight is just how much there is going on, and there's going to be a few different ways that you can play it. There's other AI that are going to be buffing the boss in the center. There are weak points that you can target if you're focused on ranged play. And there's also a lot of movement around the arena. So harkening back to Empyrean Forge, you have to really pay attention to what's around you and make sure you're not getting caught in the floor turning into lava. And this time you actually have a lot more control over the arena itself because the boss can break the bridges, but you can also build them back up. So making sure you're not caught on a platform where you need to be. I still haven't beat it in playtest yet, so I'm gonna need to work on it a little bit harder.
Maybe you should stop playing with Dave V and get other people to...
Yeah, maybe more with like Pride and Darren. They were a little bit better. But then I play healer, so maybe I should be keeping Dave alive better.
I like that.
I think the best healer in the world couldn't do that.
Thanks, guys, for the 5 likes, by the way.
Sorry. We got a couple new artifacts. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, so new artifacts. So for those of you who are done with your chase from the expansion artifacts, we're introducing 8 new ones.
Oh, wow.
Pretty diverse cast of weapons and armor. So those weapons that did not get artifacts with the expansion, the life staff, the bow, things like that, they're finally going to get their time in the sun.
Sweet.
And they should be pretty fun for players to chase. So 2 of my favorites, Vengeance, the life staff. Pretty unique weapon here. It takes more of an offensive approach for the life staff and increases the damage you deal based on how many times you're healing people. So I'm sure there's some pretty fun interactions there for players to find. There's also Gladiator, the round shield. What this does is it acts as a sort of thorns, where when you take melee damage, you
I
then
like
inflict a bleed
thorns,
on the
man.
player. So some interesting interactions there. Dave, any other favorites from you?
Yeah, I got 2 favorites also. One, I know all the bow players felt left out. Your bow is coming, Bolt Caster. It's really cool. It does, as you can guess, lightning damage. But the other nice thing is it does is if you hit someone with full health, you get a stun. So that's going to be very interesting to see the power of bows plus a stun.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Another one
OPR
I love
is going to be
quick
nuts.
draw gloves. What I like about this is it really changes the gameplay, right? It's not just numbers. Every time you swap weapons with these gloves on, you get a little bit of immunity. So
interesting.
It's neat to sort of like plan out your weapon swaps and sort of have a different vector on gameplay. So some pretty interesting ones.
I'm really excited about the DPS life staff. I haven't even come close to finishing my artifacts so far, so those are just going to go on hold for a little bit so I can do my life staff.
I still got a lot of work to do.
Like I mentioned this in the earlier part, but I think artifacts just changes the game, and they're so fun as chase items at the end. Like
it completely changes the game, which is awesome.
We're also bringing back some of our favorite seasonal events. We have the Winter Convergence Festival and the Legacy of Crassus, and I don't know about you, Patrick, but I am looking forward to seeing those Gleamites come sailing in.
Yeah,
I'm excited
Gleamites are
too,
back,
and that's a
baby.
great segue because one of the bigger changes with the convergence this year is we're really increasing the frequency of those Gleamite meteors.
Okay.
It's such a cool thing
Sweet.
in Turnum, and you only get to see it for a month out of the year. So we really wanted to make sure that players are seeing a lot of those at night, and it's really lighting up the sky. Outside of that, the standard rewards suite, so new armors to chase, new emotes. And one of the, I think, coolest things about the convergence this year is we're changing the way crafting works with these holiday events.
Okay.
So what we're doing is introducing a new resource, the Pristine Gleamite chunk from the shop. You can buy this, and that'll let you craft a guaranteed 700 item with some fixed perks. And it should be a really awesome way for players to hop into events like Winter Convergence and get some great gear out of it. Outside of that, Legacy of Crassus you touched on. So there's going to be a new pickaxe. Might be best in slot, might not. But what it does have is a unique skin, so players can go chase that. There's also 2 new statues that come from the event from each of the corrupted Cyclopses. Those will be fun to decorate your house with.
Okay. Next, Vince, you want to tell us about some of the inventory changes, quality of life improvements?
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, we've been gathering feedback for a while now on inventory and some changes, and I'm glad to announce that really big changes are coming in. So one of them is that basically right now the view of your inventory items is all 2 columns. So you have like 2 columns of, and it gets really long if you have a lot of rewards or a lot of things in a specific category. You can now change that to 1 column, so it can go wider. You can also reorganize and either change the order of all of your categories as well as turn on or turn off some categories too.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
if you really don't like gems, you can hide them all, and then you can change all of this sort of at will. If you like the 2-column layout, you can also move things from 1 column to the other. If you like all the crafting stuff on the right and all your gear on the left or the other way, you can make all those changes as well. And another cool feature that people have been asking about that we're really excited too is within each category, you can do batch crafting based on rarity. So you just check the box of the rarity of stuff you want to, or salvage, you want to salvage, and then you basically just salvage all. So
oh my gosh, thank you.
Scott Lane, you want to salvage all your commons and legendaries, you can go do that. If you're like Dave V and you're anti-blue and you just want to nuke all of that rarity, you can go for it. So
yes, thank you.
We think we're really excited about this one, and we think we've addressed a lot of the feedback, but please keep it coming, and we'll continue to keep making improvements to inventory.
It's good timing. Weren't you just talking about salvaging legendaries and how the UI creates a little bit of excess clicking?
Yeah, that Control-C gets a little frustrating. So I'm very, very happy for this change, and thank you, Vince. I think it's a huge quality of life improvement, and it's something that we're going to continue to pay attention to, not just inventory, but quality of life. So earlier on, I mentioned that we were moving cross-world expeditions and arenas out because we wanted to focus on improved group finder. Dan, why don't you tell us exactly what that's going to encompass?
This is the matchmaking group finder.
Yeah, the wait, it's almost over. We've almost got it. We are going to do cross-world expeditions with a one-click group finder.
Yep.
So you can go as a solo, you can click the button. As a pre-made group, you can click the button. You will find a group to play expeditions with cross-world.
That's going to be a game changer.
We're doing, we're supporting all the vanilla expeditions. We're also going to support mutated expeditions as well.
Drama. And with that, baby.
You always have a tank and healer in your group.
Get ready
Go
for the
into
Reddit
system,
threads.
You pick a role.
Tales from the group
it's gonna
finder.
balance things out. You're going to have a bonus for those
like it.
in-demand roles. And
like my head talking over him.
Any other bonuses, like just to give you incentives to do it every day or something like that?
Funny you should ask. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. There is a 3x daily bonus for clicking the big random button that will send you to, wherever you're needed the most for a
Interesting
right now.
And isn't there even more, Dan? What if
Sure
I think
there's no ends to this stuff, Dave.
with pugs versus pre-made groups, sometimes you don't have that coordination, so it's a little more difficult with pickup groups. Are there any sort of compensation or incentives to help that group along?
Yes, absolutely. This is not an original thing by any means, but we're adding a 15% buff when you end up in a random group to damage and
Whoa.
healing.
It's going to be big.
That's
I'm
huge.
excited for this. I think, one of the controversial topics is, like, should we do these one-click group finders for mutations? Because mutations are a little bit more, makes sense, obviously, for story mode and the easier, but like for M3s, we're going to try doing it. I think it's the right way to do it. But I think we talked about
it's going to be interesting to see what happens with
impact
this.
the leaderboard,
Yeah,
right? Like,
no leaderboard placement for
so that can
for
stay
those.
pristine. I think it's going to be super fun.
Fascinating.
Like, just the ability to press one button, never have to link gear again, never have to beg for groups or anything, and you'll just be in a group instantly. It's just
For me, it's as much about the wait, not having to try to wait for a group to form. When you're combining that with Cross World, it's gonna feel much more on demand, and that's exciting. And healers, you're gonna get paid extra.
I appreciate that buff too, because as a healer, having good group synergy with the people that I always play with is really beneficial. But now I don't have to worry.
So thanks again, everybody. And just as a recap today, we talked about some roadmap changes. We went into deep dive on all of the Season 4 features, including a new storyline, the new expedition, artifacts, our upcoming seasonal events, the awesome quality of life updates we've done, as well as giving you a little insight into where we're going with the improved group finder. So thank you again, everybody, for doing that. We'd also like to elicit questions for the Q&A. And we've seen the feedback that people feel like we're not answering all of their awesome questions or giving enough detail. So one thing we're going to do is be a little more prescriptive on the kind of questions we are comfortable answering. And hopefully this will feel more respectful of your time, because we really do appreciate you asking the questions. It's awesome. With that said, if you like what you saw, please like us, subscribe, all of those cool things. And otherwise, we will see you in Eternum in Season 4.
Looks like that's not too much further along from now. So on that note, so we'll just pause it right here. In this case, obviously, like the thing that I keep providing feedback on is the player, I guess aptitude level with the experience, and how once you hit 65, experience again just has no value, and it's such a fun thing to get, especially as you're leveling. And I would love to see them continue to support that and invest, so that as I'm doing the quests or crafting and gathering, that XP isn't just kind of falling and hitting the floor. Obviously, this is a bummer of an update, because what they did showcase, that seems par for the course of what we're expecting. I'm glad that they're going to be adding in the rest of the artifact, missing weapons, which that should have been that's expected. It is a bummer that we're seeing the cross server stuff shift out of the winter and into sometime. It's not like they're saying it's missing the entire season, but it's also that they're not saying that it's missing the entire season. So does that mean they're going to be talking about a January update or a February update? Because if you think about it, going from the expansion into Season 4, Season 3 is relatively short comparatively, and then are we going to be talking about a longer season in this case, where we don't see, like we did last year, where we didn't really get an update till March? So that's going to be something that those are some questions that I have. That's what I'm thinking immediately after this video, and overall those are kind of just my initial thoughts. What's up, Solemn? He says, my man, how you doing today? Doing good, dude. Busy as all get out. Kids are sick as all get out. We've been getting them treated because we had to take them to the doctor. That's just life. That's just life, man. That RSV is running rampant. So thank you guys for the 11 likes here on this stream. I don't need to make this longer than it needs to be. I probably will sit down and maybe put my thoughts, see what everybody's talking about. see what the where the conversation's rocking and rolling, and then maybe put out a video for you guys on that topic as well. So, guys, thanks so much for joining me. If you watched this as a VOD, be sure to sign off in the comments. I think YouTube loves it when you do it that way. And thanks again. Hopefully you guys are having a good time out there in the internet world. And I'll see you next time.